ladies and gentlemen, for your questions. Yes, Warren, I think that we've answered this question many times, and I think we should repeat the response. Yes, we do need a state-owned airline. We are a country on the southernmost tip of the African continent, far away from traffic volumes in the north of Africa. And we need to ensure and guarantee the security of air travel, both to our country and from our country outwards, to ensure that we are able to bring tourists, we are able to bring investors, and we are able to take investors out of South Africa to other countries. Now, we need to guarantee that, and the best way to ensure that is to have an airline. I think the question arises justifiably when, as you justifiably also ask, when there have been so many inefficiencies at our national carrier. And those inefficiencies are old, but they are all unjustified, because South African Airways can actually be turned around. It actually can run on good and sound business model. If you look at it, based on the reports which have been submitted from the forensic investigations done on behalf of the airline, which reports we presented to the Standing Committee on Finance in Parliament just about 4 weeks ago, South African Airways has anything between 1.5 to 2 billion rand, which they could be harvesting from renegotiated pilot contracts to uncollected ticket fares and other renegotiated contracts, which, if they were all done, the totality of which would hand over to the airline a revenue on an annual basis of between 1.5 and 2 billion rand. The reason why the airline is unable to harvest these revenues is really because of inefficiencies and the failure over years to have good and sound leadership at both management and board levels. And these are the issues that we are addressing. And these forensic investigations, which have looked at the financial leakages and other contractual and procurement leakages, have never been done before. Now that they have been done and we know where the leakages are, plugging those leakages will enable the airline to come back to sound footing. But that is not the only solution for the airline. We therefore need to implement the appointment of proper management, the establishment of a sound governance institution in terms of the board with requisite business skills to run an airline of the nature that we have. We need to have a strategic equity partner. We need to have sound business model. And then we need to ensure that we have a proper capital structure for the airline. All of those things put together will make South African Airways a sound airline as we expect it to be. What are other options that we are looking for the airline? It's actually a number of options. The ones that were to take to cabinet are the ones that require cabinet to give us, to allow us to look at, such as the disposal of non-core assets. You know that the issue of core or non-core assets in South Africa is a very thorny issue. And for us to engage in that debate, you will remember that between 1999 and 2001, we undertook that restructuring process, which resulted in the unions embarking on marches and strikes on a frequent basis. Now, we need to manage that process differently by undertaking requisite negotiation and consultation with regard to that. And that's why we had to go to cabinet to look at a particular option. But there are other options, including share equity, public-public partnerships, and a variety of other options that we are going to be looking at. These four ministers, having considered this, and even in regard to this, we are also considering the option of a full share swap in regard to the telecom shares. Now, these are issues, as Mr. Mabuza suggests, should not be discussed recklessly because they impact on the value of the shares that telecom has, and we don't want to engage in these discussions in an hysterical and sensational manner, because we don't want, whilst we solve one problem, to create a problem in another area. But much as you deserve to know the news, much as we know that we are under pressure of time to resolve the options, allow us the time to consider the options we have so that we can come up in a manner that is going to assist the airline. Whatever solution we come up with now, it is not the totality of the solutions that the airline needs. There is a full gamut of solutions that we must come up with, which, as I have mentioned, include the 5 areas that I spoke about, one of which is the appointment of the CEO, has been dealt with. The other, which includes the AGM, the restructuring of the board, the implementation of the cabinet decision with regard to the appointment of a new chairperson, because Cabinet last year decided that the term of office of the chairperson must come to an end at the end of this month. Now, the chairperson, the current chairperson, has served SAA for a period of 8 years and has served with a number of other boards. In terms of the King Code of Good Governance, you serve on a board, it's advisable that you serve on a board at least for a period of 6 years. 3 years of 3 years per term, renewable twice. It's advisable that you should not serve longer than two terms on any board, so that you don't become assimilated into the organization. It's important that non-executive directors should remain independent. The longer they serve on a board of any single organization, the more problematic it becomes for them to become independent. And that's what the cabinet had considered. I am aware that the discussion outside is such that there is a feeling that the current chairperson is being demonized, unfairly attacked, and so on. No. The issue is just about good governance. She has served 8 years, 2 years more than she would have been supposed to serve on the board of South African Airways or any state-owned company for that matter. And in terms of the procedures that we have accepted, 6 years of 3 years per term is acceptable. It is time to hand over to a new chairperson who will carry on the good work that needs to be done with South African Airways to bring it back to financial sustainability and make it a good airline that we believe it can be, so that it dominates African skies and it continues to be a flag that flies to ignite pride among South Africans all over the world. So all of these issues need to be done in order for us to bring South African Airways back to sustainability. Cabinet, by the end of September, we should have gone to Cabinet before the end of September. We should have gone to Cabinet, proposed the options, and Cabinet should have taken the decision. Whether the options we announce will be, whether the options adopted by Cabinet will be announced before the end of September or at the medium-term budget policy statement will really depend on the financial pressures that we are facing. Yes, we are facing pressures because, as you would have read, Standard Chartered Bank called their loan at the end of June. Citibank has done so, has also called their loan, and we need to pay them back. We had asked the other banks to roll over their loans until the end of September, to which they graciously agreed. And so we will negotiate with them whether they are prepared to still roll them over beyond that to allow us to make announcements of our policy options at the MTPPS, or whether they would insist on the end of September, at which point we will then make our determination. So we have until end of September to go to cabinet and have cabinet choosing its options. Yes, Mr. Jahana has been released, but he has not yet taken his office at South African Airways because there are issues that have to be finalized on his contract. We will make an announcement with regard to when he's assuming duty at SAA and he will start that business. And finally, with regard to the commissioner of the South African Revenue Service, yes, we are in discussion around the issues which have been raised, and we will consider all of the factors that are alleged and his responses, and we will make a determination on the basis of that. Thank you.
Thank you. We have to wrap up.
Thank you. Minister.